Hello friends, today we are here to talk about mid-game decision making. We actually already watched parts of this exact game earlier in the safe lane chapter, but we're gonna continue it now, right? If I were to pick one chapter of this entire guide, I think this is the highest yield. If you could get one chapter to perfectly understand and execute, this would be the one that's going to give you the biggest impact on your win percentage, the most likely to actually cause you to win games, right? Now, we stopped at about this time. It was about 13:20 or something. I want to quickly look at the state of the game, because this ends up being just a blowout for RTZ. He's like super far ahead, right? So, before we go, EG, 3,000 gold win. RTZ, 5,800, you know, about 800 gold up on his opponents. So this is like a lead. It's not an insurmountable lead, but it is a lead. Now, RTZ played pretty well in the safe lane. I mean, you remember that. That's why I chose the video. But even still, one player playing very well in a safe lane, you can only get so much done in a laning stage. The mid game is whenever many games are actually decided. This is whenever, you know, it becomes obvious who's gonna win. Okay, so how does RTZ convert this very modest lead into an unsurmountable absolute victory? So let's look at the timer. We got 13:45. He's progressing through to his Battle Fury reasonably quick. He's got 800 left on the 1200 item. That's the only part he doesn't have yet. 800 gold per minute is a lot, right? Most heroes do not have gold per minute of that level at this point. So at this current rate, it might take him 2 more minutes, which would put him at 15:45. 15:45 would be a reasonable time for Battle Fury, with 15 being par. Now let's just see how he does, right? Last hits the tower.
Lost one of them bottom towers.
Kind of walk forward, doing some last hitting. You see his allies go to flank this Faceless Void. They stunned him. He walks up. Last hits that too. Between those two things, he just scored 800 gold in about 25 seconds. He's got his Battle Fury, you know? This is important, right? You could easily brush that off. Like, a player could easily be like, oh, well, RTZ didn't really make any plays, you know? I mean, his allies basically killed the Faceless Void for him, and he didn't kill the tower. I mean, his whole team killed the tower, so it's not really his amazing play. The important thing to realize is Dota doesn't care who made the plays. Dota doesn't care if what you did was creative. Dota doesn't care if it was a high. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is that he got 800 gold in 25 seconds. This Battle Fury is now suddenly very early, a 14-minute Battle Fury. What again? 15 minutes being par. Now, specifically, what did he do? Okay, one, he's willing to take the last hits. Okay, you have to be willing to take the last hits as a carry. So, as the tower, it's hard. This takes a lot of practice. We're gonna see. I'm gonna go to his player perspective. We're gonna see him just canceling his attack a few times and then just doing it. Right? He doesn't use any special techniques. It takes a lot of practice. I used to genuinely believe, whenever I was a worse player, that last hitting towers was pure luck. Because if we look, the health bar, while creeps you can last hit because it takes these huge chunks out, the health bar movement for a tower is so minor. I used to genuinely think like, oh, it's just like luck. They just try their best and they get it sometimes and they miss it sometimes. Believe me, I have actually gotten better. I actually can eyeball it. With experience, you do get better at just seeing like, okay, that's enough there, you know? Until you get to that point, there is one technique I taught myself. Basically, just click the tower, okay? You can see how much damage you're doing. It pops up. It's 25 every time, so we know that for a fact. Now, if there's another hero here, it's hard. I mean, that always will make it harder. But if it's mostly creeps, each of these will be doing like 3 to 5 damage. So you actually do have time, and this is important. You stop. You see RTZ canceling his animation there a few times. You have to stop, because your damage has to stop. You can't just like hope it lines up by continuing to auto attack. You'll notice that the damage on a tower slows down very much, and you do actually generally have time to click the tower, read that it's below 25, and then right click the tower, you know? Alright, so he did that last hit, goes forward. His allies do all the work for this gank. Dota doesn't care who did the work. Dota only cares who gets the last hit. Granted, you do get some gold from getting the assist, but it's a lot different, you know? Okay. He uses ult. That's worth it, you know? Getting an assist, and especially this is a Faceless Void. I mean, that was their safe lane carry. That's a big kill. RTZ's gonna use the ult for that. You're the carry, okay? You need to be the one carrying. You need to be the one getting as much gold as possible. You can say like, oh, that was greedy. In this game, greed is generally a good thing, okay? You'll notice if you are able to get ahead in net worth, that just matters so much, okay? Now, let's say you're playing a game and your allies are playing well. So you are playing as the carry, you are gearing up to carry the whole game, and then your allies play well. What happens then? You just win. If you're playing a game and your allies are playing poorly, then you suddenly wish you had carried harder. You suddenly wish that you had been more greedy. Because if you don't take these last hits, your allies get them, and then your allies just suicide mid, and then suddenly the game's over. You know, you're like, damn, why did I let them get those last hits? And again, to go back to the opposite, say your allies are playing well, and you take the last hits from them, you're just going to win easily if everyone's playing well on your team. So those are the easy games, when your allies are playing well. You have to just anticipate that they're going to play poorly, because sometimes they will, okay? Alright, one quick note. To do this properly, you have to see this mid-game as basically just a race of net worth, okay? It's like you are racing against the opposing team, the other team's carry, or whoever, who's going to get the most net worth fastest, okay? Every decision you make should be pretty much exclusively thought, okay, what can I do that will get me the most creeps kills in the next X amount of time, right? Now, on that note, there's like a common question I'll hear that from a new player. Basically, it'll be something along the lines of, which one's better? Which one's worth more gold? One wave of creeps or a large camp? Or, you know, maybe a little more complicated, like which one's better, like 2 waves of creeps or maybe the whole jungle? And the thing is, like, these are math questions, and sure, you could go and memorize which one's better, but they just kind of betray the fact that you don't think about carrying properly. You know, a new player thinks like, okay, of these 2 options, which one should I do? Because I'm going to pick one of them, and I'm not going to do the other one, and I'm going to pick based on which one gives me more gold. And, you know, certainly it's a reasonable thought, but that's not how the pro player thinks, right? RTZ does not think, okay, which way is going to allow... He's like, how can I get both? That's really the ultimate objective. You want to basically be thinking of yourself as a vacuum cleaner, and like everything, all these creeps on the ground need to just be swept up. You need to get every single one. So their thoughts are more along the lines of, how can I be attacking? Okay? Because attacking, let's say if you do 7 attacks on a ancient camp, that's worth X amount of gold, versus 7 attacks on a large camp, that's worth Y amount of gold. And, you know, one of them's going to be higher than the other. But the important thing is, you just need to be spending as much % of your time attacking as possible. Because every time you attack, that's in effect worth some gold. You know, every time you attack, you're lowering some creeps HP, and you're going to be getting gold quicker. So people talk a lot about farming patterns as if they're like this big mysterious thing. It's not. It's just basically you just look at yourself, you kill the creeps that you're currently standing next to, and then you look at yourself and you find where the next best action is. All right. So let's rewind before we see that lion kill. Let's rewind. Oops. So RTZ is here. He's killing these camps. Next closest, you see he already cleared this jungle. Next closest is here, so he goes to that. Kills these. Next closest is here. Kills those. Then nothing's close. So we see if it was close to 59, we might actually back away and wait for the respawn, but it's not. So he walks back up here. Obviously, you kind of want to not go to the ones that are contested. The map's pretty big. You can, if you choose only the easy, like only by easy, I don't mean small camps. I mean uncontested farm. That's gonna be the most safest thing. You know, safety first. So here he is. You just see him going through. He did those. He came back up through here. He's doing these camps, and now, through no actual effort of his own, suddenly there's a lion popped up who's like super slow, way out of position, and teleporting. To RTZ, this is basically just another creep camp. It just happened to be in the way, and he's far enough ahead. Like, look, he's level 13. Our lion's level 7. that of course the Lion stood no chance. You know, it's basically just another kill.
Towers in bad shape.
So right now we can see the towers, the next most important thing. And you go for just whatever happens to be closest to you at the time. If nothing's close, then you consider using your teleport. Or you wait to the next minute if it's close to that. So we're gonna push this wave up, and then we're gonna go to the neutral camp, right? What's the next closest thing from here? Probably the ancient camps, and we're gonna see him blink there. Net worth is so important. By maximizing the amount of time your hero is attacking and getting net worth, you're gonna get ahead. Alright? You don't even have to make plays all the time. You just have to be consistently going up in net worth. Oh, this is like a minor thing. So like right here, obviously he could have just blinked into this because this was technically the closest camp. But if you say he blinks there and goes here, then suddenly like these two are unkilled. So this would be a scenario where you might actually have a farming pattern where you go up to the left and wipe them out like this. Or you could go up there, there. You know, whatever. Like there are different more and less efficient ways. If you can start thinking about which one's the most efficient eventually, but for right now, just focus on getting as many as you can. You know, you can worry about which one's most efficient in the future, you know. Net worth is just so important in Dota 2. It corresponds directly to how much power your hero has most of the time. Like, sure, there are exceptions like Alchemist, where it might be inflated, or Handamitis, something like that. And we went over to Handamitis in the last chapter, but the thing is, most of the time, it's the rule rather than the exception, where net worth just is directly proportional to how strong your hero is. In this game, money is power. Okay? If you are RTZ and you somehow were worth, 15k, and the opponent is 8 and 7k, so your net worth is that of two opponents added up, then you're probably strong enough to solo kill the both of them. You're probably strong enough that you can just kill two even though you're outnumbered, and that's a big deal. That means in team fights it's basically 6v5 instead of 5v5. Now it's hard to get net worth advantages that big, but I want to instill in you the fact that net worth is so important. Money is power, gold is king, money over bitches, however you want to say it, okay? The question should not be whether or not money is worth it, it's how to get that net worth, okay? Now, everything we talked about so far, just like attacking as much as possible, you know, always trying to be killing something, that's like the base. That should become your autopilot. You just killing creeps. That you don't need to be focusing on the fact that your hero is right-clicking agents. You need to be, your brain should be focused on safety. Now, we're gonna see RTZ jump on this Faceless Void. Specifically, he chose that because this void is totally isolated. If you look at this minimap, we have most everyone over to the right, and then to the left by himself is this hero. So this is like the easiest kill. You just do it in little bits, because just by not dying alone, you'll gain this huge network advantage. Even if you are terrible at farming, even if you only get like one-half the creep kills you should get, being in battles and just being alive at the end of battles is going to give you this huge net worth, because even if you're not getting the kills, just being there will get you XP, will get you gold from assists. The enemies are all set back. Your enemies, allies, anyone who dies will be set back a significant amount of not only directly losing gold when they die, but also farm. Let's just go ahead and look quickly. Let's like rewind right before the battle and right after battle, just to see like what kind of net worth change happened, okay? So we have Faceless at 8.4. We have RTZ at 1,100. Or sorry, 11.6 thousand. Alright. 11.6. Goes in, kills the Faceless Void. Goes down, kills this, kills that, kills him. Alright, so now we have Faceless Void dead. He goes down from 8.4 to 8.1. He goes up from 11.6 to 13, you know, and then RTZ's alive too. He's gonna use this time while Faceless Void is dead to get even more CS. He's actually gonna take an objective too. If you just stay alive, you know, that is probably definitely worth even more than these efficient farming patterns, okay? Now what I mentioned earlier, like what the new player question was about which is worth more. The reason that that's not a good choice is not only do you want to just be getting, ideally you want to just be getting all, so you never have to choose one or the other. But whenever you do have to choose one or the other, it's rarely because, oh, well, I've done the math and 2 waves of lane creeps are worth. It's usually because one of them's safe and one of them's not. So like right here, this is a great example. RTZ's walking up. He's about to go left. He knows there's creeps spawning here. And so it's 07, so they're probably about to his tower. If you ever want to approximate, it's like hard to guess how far they go. You just look at your own. You can cheat. You can be like, oh, it's halfway to the tower. So there's there. So he knows there's a creep wave there, and he knows there's a creep wave above. So which do you go to, right? How do you decide? So the answer is that you just want both. So we see Arteezy Mantaing. Manta goes down, his hero goes up. So he actually not only chooses both, but also chooses the safe option. He goes up. There are more creeps up than down, but also, you know, he's gonna get both, and his hero went up, so his hero is safe the whole time. Went into the side shot, picked up the Vanguard. Awesome. This is gonna be for the Abyssal Blade. We talked last video in the item section about fight versus catch. And we've been noticing, you know, Arteezy's got the Battle Fury, he's got the Manta style. I would reasonably call Abyssal Blade to be catch. You know, that's going to allow you to lock someone down and catch them out of position, whereas fight would be something like butterfly in this specific example. Well, he's choosing catch. And why is that? It's because, like we kind of mentioned, he's so far ahead, he no longer needs to be able to beat people better in fights. Now he just wants to be able to actually kill someone, even, like, guarantee a kill if someone happens to be out of position. Right there, for example, the Naga was out of position. Naga would lose to Arteezy, obviously, but the question isn't whether or not the Naga would lose, it's whether or not Arteezy can actually kill her. He had nowhere near enough damage to kill her before she ulted, but let's say, theoretically, he had this Abyssal Blade done, he could blink on her, and Abyssal her, use Manta, burn all her mana before the 2 seconds, ult her, and she's dead. On the other hand, if you were to choose fight, and he had, I mean, obviously he doesn't have enough money for either, but if you had a completed butterfly, he's gonna blink on her, he's gonna Manta, he's gonna attack even faster, and he has more effective HP, but that won't work out because she's just gonna ult either way. There's no way he burns through instantly, you know. Whereas, you know, the Abyssal is instantly, then he gets 2 seconds of work. But something else about Arteezy's item build quickly. What are some core items for anti-mage, right? Obviously, like Battle Fury is the first thing everyone thinks of. Maybe Manta second. Oh, I didn't even notice that before. Look at this! Look at who gets the gold. His ally goes and puts the sentry down. And he's like, whoop, mine. Now, granted, it's a pro game, so probably they communicated this over to Mike. You know, he's like, hey, I'm gonna get this because it's gonna get me more net worth, versus Crit's like, yeah, go for it. To be totally honest, I actually wouldn't recommend doing that in a pub game, because these supports have this idea that since they warded it, they deserve the gold. And that's reasonable, you know, they manage the D-ward. They probably do deserve the gold, I guess. Two main things. One, the amount of gold you're going to get as a carry from stealing that from your support, 100, might not be worth the fact that it's going to tilt your support and they're going to be pissed at you. Two, even still, you notice in a pro game, it was apparently determined that this helps the overall team. It probably helps Arteezy more than it helps Crit to get that extra 100 gold. So what I mean by that is not that you should go dicking over your supports in a pub game, but that is illustrating further the fact that the carry having the net worth is a big deal. Okay, moving on. Another quick item choice Arteezy made earlier, talking about the core items. Manta Battle Fury. Many people get Vlads. You notice Arteezy did not get Vlads. By skipping Vlads, he's up 2,300 gold. That's a big deal, right? It's just 2,300 that he's going to get the mana faster. It's going to accelerate his farm further because this is giving him more stats than the Vlads would. Therefore, increasing how fast he attacks, increasing how fast he clears waves. The move speed increases how fast he runs. You know, if getting the Manta is obviously going to help, right? Vlads give stats, but not as good as Manta, obviously. Now, why do people even get Vlads then? Okay, because a lot of people get Vlads, and the simple answer is to keep your health topped off. Keeping your health topped off is essential as a carry player. You're going to be doing a lot of punching creeps, and if you're at half health, then you're going to miss kills that you would have otherwise gotten, and also you'll be easier to pick off, you know, so you'll die more often and you'll miss kills more often. Neither of these are desirable. You need to keep your health topped off. So what did Arteezy do? How did he just not get Vlads? So we're going to rewind some. We're going to see him go up. The key to this is realizing that 4-man shield plus the regen from Battle Fury is actually enough. That's enough to do neutral creeps and not lose health. What Vlad's does is it gives you the ability to do these camps, these ancient camps. You notice this was only a 2 set, and even though it's only a 2-set, and he was bloodlusted, and crit tanked for a little bit, he still took a huge amount of damage. So you pretty much can't do Ancients if you don't have Vlads, right? Now let's watch this. This is going to be him doing neutrals. We're not watching specifics, just watch his HP bar. Notice it stays about the same, maybe goes up just a ghost of a bit. But Poor Man's Shield plus the regen plus his natural armor, that's generally enough. And as an aside, that's the reason people skip all this. Even though this might make him better at fighting heroes, like with that extra 4 stats, with that extra little bit of stats he gets out of this, that's going to make him just a weeny bit better at killing neutrals, right? Which matters so much because that's what his hero's doing. But what... He's still not maxed out on HP. What does he do? Very simple solution, but this is such a big deal. To be able to top your health off with a salve, suddenly he's topped off. He's not going to lose health until he does more Ancients, which may be in, who knows, a minute. But so many players would have gotten Vlads just so they could do that 2-stack, and then suddenly they're down 2,300. This way, he was able to get the 2-stack, barely, bought himself a salve, so now he's, I guess, up 2,200, I guess you could say, you know, if you subtract out the salve cost. Suddenly he's just that much farther ahead in his item build. That's a big deal. And especially because Vlad's loses its purpose late game. It's definitely not a late game item on Anti-Mage. It's definitely going to be an item you sell. But if you think about, say he's level 16 with Manta and Battle Fury, suddenly he actually could probably do like a single stack of Ancients reasonably well without losing that much gold. Or sorry, without losing that much HP. Look, we see here, even at level 13 without Manta finished, he only loses a little bit of health. So... you only need to get yourself like this bridge, this small, short period of time when you can't comfortably do Ancients. You just have to get through that. So to go 2,300 gold out of your way, and because that's going to just be wasted. You get this Vlad's, it means you can do that extra camp early on, and then you're just going to be maxed out on HP. Neutral camps are not even going to be able to touch you, so it's effectively like wasting the regen from Battle Fury. You could see it as that way. Getting Vlad's so overbuys regen that you're wasting the Battle Fury regen. And yes, I considered a lifesteal in Vlad's regen because it's not a satanic. It's not so much it's going to matter in battle most of the time. So when do you get Vlad's? Because again, people get it. Basically, whenever Vlad's makes a difference is the short of it. So I'll see Arteezy, and this is a guy, Arteezy will skip Vlad's a lot. So I'll see Arteezy getting Vlad's. So say he's against a hard lane that's going to do a lot of just persistent damage. Like a Darkseer is probably the most obvious answer or example that comes to mind. We'll see him pick up a Ring of Regen on the side lane. On top of the Ring of Health. So Ring of Health and Ring of Regen. And then he'll upgrade this Ring of Regen to Headdress. Notice that goes from 2 to 3 regen. And gives you a little bit of stats, right? And then that can naturally go into Vlad's, but it's something else that I just find a little interesting. There's been times when I've seen him get this on the side lane. Kind of does fine against the Darkseer. The Darkseer maybe changes lanes, goes jungling, gives up, goes to her, whatever. Suddenly, he's not really pressed. He'll actually just not upgrade the Headdress. He'll just leave it as a Headdress. He'll go his Battle Fury Manta, eventually selling the Headdress. That still gives you a huge advantage. You don't need to always just stick to these builds every time. If you find that you can be greedy, in this case, to go straight for the items you want, instead of going out of your way for this Vlad's item, you know, do it. The stats, again, the stats on Vlad's are okay, but they're not... I mean, look, this mana regen, not that much compared to how much he's already got from the Battle Fury. You know, all of the health regen would be wasted. And then this small boost to damage 15, that's not enough. That's not enough to justify that much gold into an item. So that's the basic mindset of a carry. It's just right-click stuff as much as possible. You know, you can't be caught up with questions like which one gives more gold per minute to farm, because your actual brain... You know, right-clicking stuff should be autopilot. Your actual brain needs to be focused constantly on being safe, keeping yourself alive, not getting picked off, not being killed. Alright? As a carry, it is always a mistake to be picked off. Okay? Anytime you die, you get put back behind a huge amount in your net worth. Sure, there's like, you could talk about different examples and counter-examples, but use that as a rule, okay? Because it's most of the time the correct rule. You just never want to die. Analyzing threats. You know, this is an interesting game because there's no threats. This is a huge part of the reason why Arteezy's done so well, and a part of the reason why I actually consider just a draft loss for Wings. They have no threats. So a threat is someone who can threaten you that you have to think about, because they can threaten you before they're visible. So blink stuns and invis stuns are like the biggest two. Lion doesn't have a blink, Faceless Void skipped blink, none of these other guys even pose a threat, you know. So Arteezy's able to just constantly farm freely, because anyone who wants to stun him, he has to first see them, so he has the option to just blink out at any point. The closest thing to a threat would be Naga sleeping from in fog, and then Faceless Void walking up and chronoing on the ground. Okay, so yeah, you need to be focusing on, because you're right-clicking, should be autopilot, you need to be focusing on threats, you need to be focusing also on correct item choices, and lastly, of course, on doing the team battles properly. We just had a chapter on items, the team battle chapter is next. For example, this game, gonna get the Abyssal, after the Abyssal, what comes next? Your reflex might be Butterfly, but you can't have your items be on autopilot, because Arteezy ends up choosing AC because of the Elder Titan. Butterfly would be heavily mitigated. All this agility is just gone. He needs some way to get physical damage reduction. Alright, so the second game is maybe playing the OD. This is a mid hero, but I'm just going to show you kind of parts of this replay on 2 times because I want to illustrate to you the fact that so much of what we just talked about applies, even though Anti-Mage and OD could not be farther apart. Anti-Mage amazing at the late game, and OD also good at the late game, but more of an early game focus. He's definitely undisputably strong in an early game, and yet this formulaic kind of recipe that I'm giving you for mid-game decision making applies just the same for both, which is basically you need to be watching threats for yourself, you need to be making only good plays. Like in Dota, a series of good plays is more important than having some occasional W's, some occasional L's, because you're worried about making, if you think about, which one's more efficient, lane, creeps, or neutral, you just want to be making the one that's most likely to be a one fight. So, what he did top lane, all of his allies were top lane, he rotated top lane, got a kill. Notice he keeps glancing top lane now, not considering going, because there's 3 enemy heroes. He's not going to go now, he's just doing jungle camps. Are jungle camps more efficient than the mid? Who knows? It's not important though. The mid at the time was across the river. Now he finished a jungle camp, mid's back on his side, he's going to push it out, he's going to do mid, because the jungle camps are dead, those aren't an option. Look at that too, that's just another little nuance, but it's very important. He goes up, he uses the Astral Imprisonment on these. He just wants to kill him as quickly as possible. It's no longer this emphasis. It's different than the laning stage, right? The laning stage, you want to be denying. You want to keep it on your half. You want to get your farm, and you want to deny your opponent farm. So you want to keep it, the lane well regulated. Doesn't matter anymore. It's mid-game. We're past the laning stage. He's moving around. So he goes up. He just clears the creeps as quick as possible, and then he's moving on. Okay? Doesn't care about the lane. So where to go from here? Maybe south to the jungle. Those are all free. Obviously, we're going to start by getting the rune. Okay, so grab the rune. Suddenly, we notice, what's this Timbersaw doing? He's zipping in. That's out of position. Can we kill the Timbersaw? I don't know. But the one thing we do know is we will not lose 4v1. We have Nyx teleporting in too. So maybe we can kill him, maybe we can't. But we absolutely will not die. Uses his drums, goes in. Actually, the Rubik was able to make a good play and actually barely get him. Suddenly, his whole team teleports in. Blue is off by himself, so it's a 4-on-4. Granted, this is a support and this is a carry. What team has the advantage? The carry's down to support. The answer is, doesn't matter. It's still close enough battle. We're just gonna ditch. We don't want to take battles that are even potentially close. We just only take super easy battles, right? The Anti-Mage last replay, we saw him only get involved in battles that weren't even battles. Like that battle of him killing the Lion, he went in, he didn't do anything. Lion got out of position, support did everything, he just ulted. That's how you want to be playing as a core. Notice this, his supports do a great initiation, they start this battle, he shows up late as usual, which is the way you want to play on a carry. You want to be late as often as you can, because notice, if you're late, at no point does the enemy consider maybe let's kill you. They're only fighting your allies, and you're just sitting in the background just dumping huge truckloads of damage on top of the battle. Notice no hero ever targeted him. He did take some damage. That was the tower, plus he walked through a sniper shrapnel. But no one targeted him, so it was obviously he was never at any point a risk of dying. Pushing up mid, getting some neutral creeps on, blocking a little bit, does one more wave. Notice these heroes are about to respawn. Suddenly mid doesn't feel super safe. Like, the enemies, you can see one of them's walking towards it, a bunch of them are missing. Grab the rune, let's go top. We just saw them all walking towards mid, so, top seems way safer at the moment. However, okay, so you have to imagine that whenever you go somewhere, you have to imagine that worst case scenario would be their entire team uses the TP scroll on the tower closest to you and chases you down. So we see this guy thinking about that, right? They did that they didn't actually do that, but they were all mid. He goes top. He leaves some space so that if they were to do that, he'd be able to get out. He just saw tons of heroes bottom, so now he knows he's safe. Again, if we back up a second, we see him pushing this top lane. Alright. And then we see the enemies show up bottom lane. They're actually... the enemies show up bottom lane. They're actually fighting his ally. They're going on this Nyx assassin. He actually glances down. This is a player perspective. He glances down, sees the Nyx assassin. Is that an easy kill? Which one even? It's a 2-on-1. Hard to say if it's even easy or not. I mean, he might... The bounty hunter would escape for sure. Can he get this guy solo? Probably not. He can't really... Maybe if he... All that, too much thinking. If you can't imagine an easy way to win it, and he might not even win it too. There's still heroes missing. But the tower is absolutely an easy kill. Moving on. Items-wise, he's just getting very standard, like the core items for OD. You know, you get the core items. Good. Most of the time, core items are called core because you just get them. He's pushing the top tower. He's going to consider backing up, but then we see every hero show bottom. So now he's like, oh, well, I'll just stay top, you know? This happens a lot, by the way, when you're trading towers. Who's winning in this trade? He is winning because it's a tier 1 for a tier 2. But is he really winning? Because they got the tier 1 and he didn't actually get the tier 2. He just damaged the tier. It's not about deciding who's winning. You don't decide whose W is bigger than the other. You just take your medium-sized W and you're happy. You know, if you're trading tier 1 and they get a tier 1, you get a tier 1, you just think of it as, I got a tier 1. You don't think of it the downside as they got a tier 1, okay? Allies are fighting. They got a kill. He didn't even show up on time. Fine. Suddenly, all the enemies are reinforcing. He uses too late for that battle, but whatever. We're just getting the hell out. That looks like an actual fight. We're not interested in fighting fights. Similar to the anti-mage killing the lion or killing the faceless void who is way out of position. You know, we just show up. We just want to take the easy stuff, okay? Taking mid. We see all of the heroes. Where the mid tower is totally undefended. We see our heroes start moving towards them, but then the mid tower is undefended. This, again, this looks like it could be an actual fight. Do we want that? Nope. We want the easiest thing in the world. We want to take this tower, for which there will be no contest. His allies all come back, they get this tower. Good stuff. Maybe he grabs a CS or two. Something I want to point out, by the way. He's not even the top. He's not even the carry, right? He's just playing like a core. This is just how you play cores. If you want to carry, whether or not you're the one safe lane position, it doesn't matter. You just play like a carry. You never know. If this is a pub, who knows if Slark decides to just go suiciding, suddenly all of Slark's net worth's down the toilet, you still want to be the top, okay? It doesn't matter if you're beating your allies, really, but you do want to beat the enemies. He's pushing up bottom. Suddenly, we got that lane done. Which one's faster, to do the creeps there or to do the neutrals? We'll just do the neutrals because they're safer. It's not about which one's worth more, right? You can see that if there were to be heroes there, they would be like kind of... We have this little ghost of a vision there, right? So it's unlikely they'd be cutting in through there. We'd see them, right? However, if he was on this lane, maybe it's possible that there could be a pirate in the woods. You know, weird things like that, right? But it's possible. Whereas the neutral creeps, he's just safe. There's allies who are surrounding him on all sides. Amazing. A lot of times you want to use your allies as kind of like a buffer or a wall. Like, they are basically just little walking wards for you. They're trying to get the bounty, they're trying to get the bounty hunter. They don't find him. They find a Leshrac instead. He kind of goes there, but doesn't get there in time. It doesn't matter again. Bottom lane still feels a little risky. He decides to go mid. His Slark's on mid. You know, and his Slark is the one position, so he does get priority. One thing that's worth mentioning, by the way, a big difference between this hero and Anti-Mage is Anti-Mage just has more options, namely Ancients. Like, he could have maybe gone mid and swung into the Ancients, but if he was Anti-Mage or something, but this hero doesn't do Ancients, so that's out. So you just ignore that this camp even exists, so you just go up. He actually saw Kunkka a second ago. Kunkka's in his own woods alone. Is he a free kill? Absolutely. Why is this safe? It's in the enemy woods. It's because of this amazing ward vision. You know, if we didn't have ward vision, maybe you don't go for it, but we do. The only one who could potentially be here is Bounty Hunter. And we could actually 1v2. We could kill both of those. Bounty Hunter's not here. Bounty Hunter's mid, but we didn't actually know that because he's invisible and they don't have detection. It's just like a replay bug. Did they actually catch him there? Nah. So we see another easy kill. You know, this is the exact same as like the Anti-Mage picking off the Lion. The only difference is that the main difference here is that he has a lower net worth than the Anti-Mage would from playing this, like playing like a core. He's going to have a lower net worth because he can't flash farm as fast, but also the free kills will start earlier because he can get kills with less, okay? So here's a battle. We've got, if we stop, I'm pausing it so we can analyze it. This guy's very low. The Slark's invis. We've got 2 heroes top. We 3 heroes here. The opponent has 1 down, 1 basically down, so that would leave 3 versus 3. So who's going to win? Who cares? It's a hard fight. We're not interested in fighting fights. Looks like Slark actually ended up going down. Who's going to defend this top tower? No one. This is free. This is absolutely and totally free. Right? If he had tried to run mid, he would have missed that tower, and the battle would already be over. So, again, let's look at his vision. Let's look exactly how many seconds he spends contemplating the battle. 1, 2, nope. Let's just get the tower. See, like, you just get the easy stuff. So he gets this easy tower. Suddenly, he's actually almost catching up to Slark. You know, Slark lost a lot from dying. Again, not that it really matters who's ahead on his team. It's more matters that you're ahead of your ally. Amazing play by the Nyx. The Nyx caught him out, but he's here for the damage, you know? Oh, they actually got the suicide off. So he's the one who just puts on the damage, and a lot of times that's your goal, that's your job as a core position, is you're just the one adding a shitload of damage. A lot of times you want to be building a lot of fight items and not so much catch, because catch is the job of the supports, like a Blink Rubik or a Blink Nyx or whatever. Supports are offlaner, whereas your core position will just be to blow through as many creeps as possible. Notice, by the way, after they got the kill, again, all 4 enemies missing, sort of starts to feel iffy. Just walk away. Just walk away. This is pretty safe. You can show up on lane, get him creep kills or 2, and back away once it starts to be pushed in too far. Again, we can play to our allies right now. We actually have all of our allies near us, so we feel like safe doing that creep camp we just did. We actually felt safe doing that because our allies were like this wall around us, this buffer. Pushing up, taking the tower. Most enemies are missing. Now all enemies are missing. We'll back up a little bit. Oh, there's a bounty hunter out of position. Let's catch him. Bounty hunter actually did some crazy jukes here. Seemingly escaped. I'm gonna back that up just because that's worth watching from his perspective. He tracked, he ran away, ran down, they missed the dust, placed a ward right here. He actually walks through the ward vision as all of them walk down. So no, they didn't have normal vision. They had the ward, but they didn't have normal vision. So he gets up in here just in time. An amazing juke from Monkeys Forever, who then gets cocky and uses Arcane Boots directly on top of the Nyx Assassin. They're like, oh, found you. So they find him. He gets invis, and now he's slightly out of this range, and they're like, God. And so, anyways, maybe he just has none of it. He just decides to dump the ult because he's been being a pain. So it presents this interesting question. At this point, we just know all of the enemies are here, unquestionably. They have had plenty of time to rotate. So what's more important? The Sanity's Eclipse or the Bounty Hunter? This is a 5-on-4, but the one they're missing is, you know, middle of the road net worth, is a Bounty Hunter, doesn't usually contribute a lot. Sanity Eclipse is a very big ultimate, on the other hand. So who's actually ahead here? Like, who has the advantage? And the answer is, who cares? We don't want fights. We don't want hard fights. Plus, they have the tower defensive advantage. Walk away. We don't take hard fights. So all the enemies suddenly went mid to try to catch Slark. They missed Slark. He's thinking about farming. He actually decides to teleport in himself because the enemies are all running away. When the enemies are running, they're obviously not fighting. What does he go for? He could really only potentially catch this one, but he could have tried to go mid, maybe. The key is, either way, he knows that he's safe. Whether or not he can actually get the Timbersaw, hard to decide. He has tons of damage, but no real like lockdown. He just has his little... The only way this works is if he actually catches him mid Timber Chain. So he gives up on the kill. He didn't get it. That's okay. The allies actually did end up getting it. Some good play there between these guys. However, he's just getting creeps. Just doing creep things, right? Notices the top's getting pushed in. You know? He goes... I mean, no one else is taking this farm, right? Like, you could think... And this is a big common problem. You could think, oh, well, he shouldn't be farming. That's the Slark's job. Well, who cares about whose job it is or whatever? You just... The farm is there. Slark's not taking it. He's going to teleport and take it. Suddenly, because he's been playing well, like, look at this net worth here. And, by the way, decently big last hit discrepancy. Slark is technically the position 1, and yet he's basically caught up. By the end of the game, I think he ends up being ahead. Item choices, that's the other thing you got to always be thinking of as a carry. He's going BKB. right? We talked about this a lot in my last chapter. I think this is just a great formula for a hero, is to just build your starting core items, you know, so like the Anti-Mage, that was the Battle Fury, the Manta, this guy, Hurricane Pike, Drums, Power Treads, they just work well on the hero. And then you need to, in order to team fight properly, you need to be able to do, you want to be basically immune to physical and immune to magical. So if you're immune to everything, you can probably shell out damage pretty safely, right? Again, fights that aren't fights. If the opponent can fight back, then that's not ideal. We saw the Kunkka actually running towards him a second ago. I'm going to rewind and show that one more time. On his vision, he teleports in. He's kind of doing creeps. He sees the Kunkka show for just a brief second. He knows that's bad news, so he runs away. The Kunkka's not trying to solo kill him. The Kunkka knows he can't solo kill him, so the Kunkka's there because he's got a bunch of allies. So the Kunkka, you know, is kind of threatening there. So he runs away, turns around. He's got his BKB now, a lot less threatening. Kunkka's X does nothing if he has BKB, if need be. He's got allies in the area, so it's safe for him to come back. Alright, so of those two items, though, we talked about the combo of the BKB plus heavy physical defense item, those being AC, Shivas, or Butterfly. Those two together, that's going to make you basically immune to everything, right? So you want to go for that. So which one do you go first? And this is something I actually do. I break down the opponent's team based on what damage type they have. So if we just want to start looking, you know, basically physical or magical, right? So no physical damage. No physical damage. Yes, physical damage. No physical damage. Maybe if he has Edict, he does, but if we're being realistic, still no physical damage. You're not going to be taking damage from Leshrac in a battle, you know? If he's near you doing Diabolic Edict, you just pop him. It's not like an actual carry. It's not like there's a Luna shooting at you that you have to worry about. There's just basically not, and the sniper's kind of far behind, so his damage is not so big. It's clear that BKB will give more protection than a Shiva's, though, here, okay? Previous example, you know, some heroes don't go the BKB. You have Anti-Mage, for example. He just has innate magic defensive properties. So BKB's way lower priority. BKB actually only becomes a priority for heavy disables. You notice we're talking here about damage. Damage is probably most important when we're talking about the BKB. But, you know, if they're all magical damage, if the only way they can damage you is magic, then BKB's a great option. Anti-Mage doesn't really matter, though. He's got that. So notice this. Before the battle's even started, let's back up. Let's back up. Before we take the tower even, okay? He's got 12.9. The Timbersaw's got 9. We have played in a very similar way as the Anti-Mage the last game. We've been avoiding hard fights, only taking easy fights. It's not identical because, you know, we can't do a lot of things. We're a lot slower than the Anti-Mage. We can't blink. We can't instantly kill the whole jungle of neutral camps. We can't do Ancients. But we still have gotten a lead. And this is the thing about Dota is, yeah, his hero has a harder time getting some net worth, but also the net worth he has. This is a 3k lead versus last game Arteezy had like 10k or something by the end. This is good enough on this hero, as we're about to see. Now watch it. That was only 3k. It goes up a little bit from the tower, then he goes into the fight. Alright. When to use BKB. Basically, the instant a battle is like a done deal, like there will be a battle, you BKB. So, he gets stunned, you know the battle's gonna happen. Because once he gets stunned, he can't run away. So he starts shooting him. He used Yules. He killed the Leshrac. Got the Timbersaw. Is going on this pirate. The pirate's running away, you know, because all their main damage died instantly, besides the sniper. Look at that. Huge battle taken by the OD. And then, obviously, the tower, the second tower. And we're about to see a really good play from the Nyx. Sniper does a shrapnel, not thinking. Nyx stuns him, meaning that everyone instantly knows, oh shit, Sniper's stunned. So everyone just goes and they find him, even though he's pretty far back. But not far enough. Killed him. Ultra kill on the OD. And it's GG. This game is actually over. They call GG in a couple of seconds. So that 3k net worth lead, that's not nearly as big as the Anti-Mage, but it's good enough, right? That's that to their eyes. This was a hugely broken, way out of control OD who ends up this 8-0 score with a ultra kill and just couldn't be dealt with at all in the battle. Okay? That is why I think mid-game decision-making is the most important. That's why it's the most important thing. There was no late-game decision-making in this game. There was no late game. The game just ended because they took one fight. That OG literally had one fight. One actual battle that he took part in. And even that was basically not a battle because he itemized properly and he got the item required that would make it so the opponent couldn't fight back. That is why mid-game decision making is so important. All right, next game or next video, team battles.